Please, I know this sounds insane, but I'm dying, and my daughter's prom is in 3 weeks. Her mother's gone, she has no one, and I won't be here to see her graduate. Could you possibly take her? Just so she has one normal memory before everything falls apart." The words tumbled out desperately as 50-year-old Kendrick Walsh gripped the arm of the stranger sitting beside him in the hospital waiting room. The man, dressed casually in jeans and a faded band t-shirt, clearly waiting for someone else, looked startled but didn't immediately pull away. His dark eyes, kind despite the obvious confusion, studied Kendrick's gaunt face, the IV port visible beneath his shirt collar, the unmistakable signs of late-stage illness. I don't understand," the stranger said gently. "Why would you ask me? You don't even know me." Kendrick's laugh was hollow, edged with desperation. "Because my daughter Bellamy is 18, brilliant, and has spent the last 2 years caring for me instead of being a teenager. She gave up friends, dates, normal high school experiences to be my nurse. And now prom is coming, this one thing she actually wants, but she won't go because she's afraid to leave me alone. I need her to have this. One perfect night before—" His voice broke. The stranger's expression shifted from confusion to something deeper, recognition of a father's love mixed with unbearable grief. "I'm Sutton," the man said quietly, extending his hand. "Sutton Calloway. And before you say anything else, you should know I'm probably the worst choice for this. I don't do crowds, I'm terrible at small talk, and I haven't been to a high school event since my own graduation 22 years ago. But you're here," Kendrick said, hope flickering in his exhausted eyes. "In this waiting room at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, which means someone you love is sick too, which means you understand what it's like to watch someone suffer and feel completely helpless." Sutton's jaw tightened. He was visiting his elderly neighbor, a woman who'd been more of a mother to him than his own absent parents, now dying slowly of heart failure. He'd been sitting in this waiting room for hours, avoiding his empty house and the memories it contained. What Kendrick didn't know, what the casual clothes and tired demeanor disguised, was that Sutton Calloway was one of Hollywood's most successful directors. He'd won an Oscar 3 years ago, commanded 8-figure budgets, and could have any studio executive returning his calls within minutes. But he lived quietly, avoiding the industry's social circus, still haunted by the loneliness of a childhood spent invisible to parents who valued their careers over their son. "Tell me about Bellamy," Sutton said instead of explaining who he was. Over the next hour, Kendrick painted a picture of his daughter, top of her class despite everything, accepted to MIT on full scholarship, passionate about robotics and environmental science, but also just a kid who'd never had a chance to be young. Her mother had died when Bellamy was 12, leaving father and daughter to navigate grief together. Then came Kendrick's diagnosis 2 years ago, and Bellamy had transformed from child to caregiver, handling medications and doctor appointments with heartbreaking competence. "She pretends she doesn't care about prom," Kendrick said, his voice thick. "Says it's superficial, but I found college brochures hidden in her room with prom dress ideas sketched in the margins. She wants it, but won't let herself have it because she's afraid I'll need her that night. And I might not make it to graduation. This might be the last chance I have to give her something normal." Sutton felt something crack in his carefully maintained emotional distance. What if she doesn't want to go with a complete stranger? That's gotta be awkward. "It is," Kendrick admitted, "which is why I'm asking you to meet her first. Have coffee, let her see you're not some creep I pulled off the street. If she's uncomfortable, we forget the whole thing. But if you could just try, please." Something about Kendrick's desperate love for his daughter resonated with Sutton's own buried pain about absent parents. "Okay," he heard himself say. "I'll meet her. No promises beyond that." 3 days later, Sutton sat in a coffee shop near Bellamy's high school, nervous in a way he hadn't been since his first film premiere. When she walked in, tall, with her father's warm eyes and a wariness that made her seem much older than 18, Sutton stood awkwardly. "You must be Bellamy. I'm Sutton. Your dad probably explained this bizarre situation?" "He did," Bellamy said carefully, sitting across him with her backpack clutched defensively, "and I told him this is completely unnecessary. I don't need pity or charity from strangers." "Good," Sutton said, "because I don't do pity. Your dad asked me to take you to prom, and I said I'd meet you first and let you decide. No pressure, no expectations. You want to tell me to get lost, I completely understand." Bellamy studied him for a long moment. "Why did you agree? Most people would think my dad was crazy." "Because he's dying and wants to give his daughter one normal memory,"
Sutton said bluntly. That's not crazy. That's love. And I understand what it's like to wish your parents cared that much. Something in Bellamy's defensive posture softened. They talked for 2 hours about her robotics projects, her MIT acceptance, her fear of leaving her father. Sutton found himself genuinely engaged, impressed by her intelligence and moved by her quiet grief. Can I ask you something? Bellamy said finally. What do you do? Dad said you were in the waiting room visiting someone, but you seem, I don't know, different than most random people. Sutton hesitated, then decided on honesty. I'm a film director. I've done a few movies you might have heard of. He named his Oscar winner, watched her eyes widen with recognition. Wait, you're the Sutton Calloway? And my dad just asked you in a hospital waiting room to take me to prom? Apparently desperation makes people bold, Sutton said with a slight smile. Look, I know this is weird, but your dad's right. You deserve one night to just be 18. And I promise, despite directing movies, I'm actually pretty boring in person. No paparazzi, no drama. Just a guy who can rent a decent tux and won't embarrass you too badly. Bellamy's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. I don't know if I can enjoy it. Knowing he's home, knowing every moment could be...
He's giving you permission to have this, Sutton said gently. Honor that gift by actually letting yourself experience it. That's what he wants, to know you had one night of joy. The prom was 3 weeks away. During that time, something unexpected happened. Sutton and Bellamy became genuine friends. He'd stop by after visiting his neighbor, helping Bellamy with college preparation, talking about film and science and life. And he got to know Kendrick too, this brave, gentle man facing death with remarkable grace, focused entirely on his daughter's future. What Bellamy didn't know was that Sutton had quietly arranged something else. Using his industry connections, he'd organized a small film crew to document prom night, not intrusively, but capturing moments Kendrick could watch from home, giving him the gift of witnessing what he'd miss in person. Prom night arrived. Sutton showed up in an elegant tux, genuinely nervous, and found Bellamy transformed, wearing a simple but beautiful dress, her hair styled, looking both grown up and heartbreakingly young. Kendrick, weak but determined, met them at the door. "Take care of my girl," he said to Sutton, his voice barely above a whisper. "I promise," Sutton replied, understanding the weight of that trust. The prom itself was magical in its ordinariness. Dancing, terrible DJ choices, overpriced photos, teenage drama swirling around them. Sutton was awkward but trying, and Bellamy laughed more than she had in years. The hidden cameras caught it all, her joy, her brief freedom from grief, the pure teenage normalcy her father had wanted so desperately to give her. When they returned home, Kendrick was waiting up, the footage already sent to his tablet. Tears streamed down his face as he watched his daughter dance, laugh, be young. "Thank you," he whispered to Sutton. "You gave her something I couldn't, a moment of lightness in all this darkness." Kendrick died 6 weeks later, peacefully, with Bellamy holding his hand. At the funeral, Sutton stood quietly in the back, honoring the man who taught him that true love means giving what you can, even when you have nothing left. Months later, at MIT, Bellamy received an unexpected package, a documentary Sutton had created from the prom footage, titled One Perfect Night. It wasn't glossy or overly produced, just honest moments of joy, intercut with Kendrick's voice from interviews Sutton had quietly recorded, talking about his love for his daughter, his pride in her strength, his gratitude for that one perfect memory. In the final scene, Kendrick looked directly at the camera, his message clearly meant for Bellamy. "Sweetheart, if you're watching this, I'm gone. But I got to see you dance. I got to watch you be happy. That's everything a father could want. Live fully, love deeply, and remember, asking strangers for help isn't weakness. Sometimes it's how we find the angels we didn't know we needed." Because kindness often begins with unlikely requests in unexpected places, a dying father's desperate plea, a stranger's willingness to show up, a simple act of compassion that ripples outward, touching more lives than we can measure. We never know whose burden we might lighten by simply saying yes when asked to care, by choosing connection over convenience, by honoring someone's love even when it costs us comfort. That's how grace spreads, through ordinary people doing extraordinary things for no reason except it's needed, it's right, and it matters. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.